I'm your cult boyfriend, talking about season 8 and season 9 of Beverly Hills 90210. Soap opera style television is obsessed with places as an actual character within the drama, or even as the cause or the reason for all of it, or even the effect. Like the drama makes the place makes the drama. It could be back and forth, life imitating art, imitating life, that sort of thing. Beverly Hills 90210, Beverly Hills is a character within the melodrama. And just like your traditional soap operas of the past, there was General Hospital and Dallas and Knots Landing. Places. Places were characters. Playgrounds for the most melodramatic events to ever grace the television screen. We often daydream about the lives of the rich and the famous. And when teenagers think of their own lives, they think of their lives in idealized forms. Beverly Hills 90210 is perfect setting for the idealized forms of the teenage experience, of the young experience, of the young adult experience. There are songs about California, about dreaming of California, books and films, all about California. There's something inside of the American spirit that longs for California, not necessarily the actuality of California, but the poetic symbol of California, for the poetry of California, for the metaphor of California. California represents a lot to young people, represents a life that they can't possess. Beverly Hills 90210 followed in Dallas and General Hospital's footsteps. Aaron Spelling and Darren Star elevated coming of age storytelling by bringing soap opera style television to prime time. The OC would continue this soap opera style tradition of setting as character. In fact, every great teen show, the setting is wildly, massively important. It's because of Beverly Hills 90210 that this is so often the case. Unforgettable. Season 8 of Beverly Hills 90210 is terrible. It's really bad. David Silver was still super interesting in season 8. Season 8 was largely about punishing David Silver. David Silver was humiliated and punished throughout season 8. He loses his career, loses his passions, loses Donna, loses the club, almost sets the club on fire, works at a car wash. He gets overshadowed and overtaken by Noah Hunter, who don't even get me started on Noah Hunter. Fuck Noah Hunter. He's the worst character I've seen on Beverly Hills 90210. He has negative screen presence. Negative screen presence. He's nothing. He's a black hole that just sucks everyone in. But David was really well handled. There's an episode called Ricochet where David's fucking around with this gun in an alley, and Noah and like Noah's childhood friend is there as well, and David's just being wildly irresponsible with this gun. It goes off, it ricochets, and it hits the girl in the arm. And my eyes lit up, man. My brain was set on fire in a really good way because that's some full circle type shit. It's very difficult not to draw a direct parallel between David being wildly irresponsible with a gun in an alley as a full-grown adult and Scott being wildly irresponsible fatally as a teenager in the show's second season. David watches Scott die, and yet David is almost imitating the same exact behavior years and years, seasons and seasons later, subconsciously. I don't know how subconscious it is because David does bring up Scott in that episode in passing, saying something like, yeah, a friend of mine died from one of these things, something like that, from a gun. But it really feels like full circle type shit. Go watch my Beverly Hills 90210 analysis part one, because I go into it in a lot of detail because it was pretty beautiful. Scott's death was a tragic and liberating sort of event for David because David's archetype was the loser, and so was Scott's. And Scott was represented the incurable, the incurably geeky parts, the incurably 80s parts of the loser identity. And those parts had to be shed. Those parts had to die so that David could progress as a dynamic character because the 90s loser is the 90s misfit. It's a different sort of archetype. and David became a much stronger and more dynamic and more poetic archetype after Scott died, but Scott was a liberating effect for that. And now we're almost at another kind of crossroads, another fatal crossroads that involves the handgun. And it's interesting that David is also the one dealing with this sort of gun violence, considering that, like a year later in 99, Columbine would happen. Violent 90s misfits with guns. It's strange that so much media was pointing toward this notion, towards these catastrophic future events. No one ever brings up David's mania, the fact that he has bipolar or manic depression, but he was certainly going through an episode there. And of course, why wouldn't he? The entire season was about punishing him. That was really cool. And that's a situation where the show capitalized on the past in order to make the present more powerful. And another beautiful moment where it does that is in season 9. In season 9, Dylan McKay returns. Thank God, because everyone is better when Luke Perry is around. The show is better, and all the actors seem to be much more inspired when he's there. Dylan and Kelly have a scene within a playground on a swing set when her grandfather dies, and it is reminiscent of a scene on a swing set in a playground in the third season where they're extremely vulnerable and intimate with each other. And in the third season, it was really powerful because Dylan was warring with his tortured inner child. In fact, his inner child would be personified in a couple episodes as well. He was warring with his neglected, pissed off, angry, damaged, and disturbed inner child. And it's like with Kelly at that playground, he was able to soothe the inner child, or she was able to calm and nurture the inner child. We are returning to those themes as Dylan returns to this show in season 9 with Dylan and Kelly at Playground as adults. And we have like a more mature handle on the emotionality of the moment itself. Most interesting thing about season 9 was a new character called Gina, who I adored. I liked her a lot. She was clearly Valerie's replacement as Tiffany Amber Thiessen left, and Gina took on this antagonistic role. And I loved what Gina did within that space. Sometimes she would just stir the pot just for the fun of it. And of course, if we're dealing with soap opera style television, your most important characters are often the villains because they're the ones who are keeping the narratives going and starting new ones, keeping characters at each other's throats, and like keeping the drama dramatic. And I love Gina for that. I thought Gina was a little bit more entertaining, to be honest, than Valerie. I thought Gina was sexy. I thought she was really secretive. I thought she was untrustworthy. I also thought she was passionate and like sensitive though at the same time. I thought she was a bit of a disturbed character. I liked Gina. I thought she was great. She was cool. And it also helps that most of her scenes were with Dylan McKay, and everyone is with Dylan McKay within the atmosphere of Luke Perry seems to shine a bit heavier. I love the ending of season 9 where David returns home because he's like romantically interested in Gina, only to find Gina in bed with Dylan, and they just slept together, and he takes this bouquet of roses that he had bought to give to her and just beats them against the wall. I'm like, yes, this is it. This is classic. This is classic teen drama, soap opera entertainment, baby. This is what I'm here for. That was great. I'm like back on track. Beverly Hills 90210. I was thrilled to see Dylan McKay come back. It was missing so much without him. He's such a cool character. Uh, just like I said, I think that whereas Gina was pretty decent replacement for Valerie. And Valerie, I thought, was only really cool in season 5. After that, she was one dimensional, whereas there are already quite a few dimensions to Gina. Like, I don't have a firm grasp of her yet because she's kind of a slippery character. She's this figure skater with an eating disorder, with body dysmorphia, but also with, like, so much passion put in all the wrong places and with grudges and with like just shards of different personalities within her. Like Gina is already more complicated than Valerie ever was. Like they tried to make Valerie really sensitive with the idea that she secretly had killed her father because she was being abused by him. And it actually felt contrived. I never really bought it. It might have been Tiffany Amber Thiesen's performance, but I never bought it. Whereas Gina is just, there is something massive there. Something dangerous too. There's a dangerous quality to Gina that I really appreciate. Like, she's a great replacement for Valerie, and Valerie was a replacement um for Brenda, and she'd never felt like a ripoff of Brenda because she was so different from Brenda, but Valerie was her replacement. Noah Hunter is clearly the replacement for Dylan McKay, and yet he feels like such a ripoff, such a discount version of him. He doesn't have an ounce of the charisma, an ounce of the sexiness, or an ounce of the danger that Luke Perry seemed to just effortlessly express. Noah Hunter is probably the worst version of the poor little rich boy archetype that I've ever seen. And that sucks. That's one of my favorite archetypes. It's one of the worst attempts. Noah Hunter is just a big nothing. I have no idea what Donna sees in him. I have no idea what any of them see in him. When he first shows up, every single girl, every woman on the entire cast wants a piece of him. It's so fucking try hard, you know? It's so fucking dumb. The moment that made me the happiest was in season 9, and it's when David and Donna are kind of flirting with each other again. David gets Donna to come to the radio booth and join him, sit down next to him, put on the headphones, and talking to the mic. And oh my God, I was crying, screaming, throwing up, thinking about the Beverly Hills High radio of David and Donna, the dynamic duo, back. I was so happy, just like with Kelly and Dylan at the playground, just like David and Scott with guns. This is another situation where the show is capitalizing on its own past in order to make the present more powerful. And it got me to think about nostalgia and how a lot of people like to criticize nostalgia. I mean, I criticize nostalgia as well, but nostalgia is a part of life. And it's a very important part that should be focused on. And Beverly Hills 90210 is unique in the fact that it could be nostalgic for its own past, for the past that it itself had made because it had existed for so long. But just in my own life, just a month or two ago, I ran into my ex-girlfriend. Hadn't seen her in almost 10 years. And I gave her a ride somewhere. And just me being in the driver's seat, her being in the passenger seat. Something nostalgic clicked, something sorrowful and sentimental clicked, and yearning clicked. Nostalgia is a part of the human experience. That doesn't mean that like we're not back together, not gonna get back together, and that was never even an idea in my head. But nostalgia is a part of the human experience, and the human experience without romance or yearning for the past is not worth living. And I think that Beverly Hills 90210, near the end of its run, it is engaging with nostalgia really, really well, providing the blueprint for future shows, for future teen shows, uh, like how to interact with your own fictive past within the show. Like, that's really fun. Jason Priestley leaves at the beginning of season 6, and good riddance. I don't like him. I liked Brandon most in seasons 4 and 5. In season 8, he was such a sanctimonious, hypocritical jerk. Cheated on Kelly with Emma, treated Kelly terribly, was so self absorbed, it was disgusting. And I don't know if it's the character Brandon Walsh or if it's Jason Priestley's awkward and odd, like theatrical performance style, or a mixture of both. But I have had so much difficulty connecting with Brandon. I never bought the Brandon and Kelly thing to begin with. I thought that Brandon was supposed to be with Andrea, but they never really did that. They never really went for that completely. Even though they teased it for years, they never committed to Andrea and Brandon. When he left, I didn't feel happy, I didn't feel sad, I felt nothing, and that's probably the worst thing you can say about a character, especially a main character. Like, Shannon Doherty in retrospect was so, 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 so important. Because imagine if it wasn't the Walsh twins. Imagine if it was just Brandon. Oh my God, Shannon Doherty saved this show. I couldn't imagine just being with Brandon. I'm so happy that Brenda Walsh. Like I can imagine the show without Brandon, but I can't imagine the show without Brenda because who I don't know what's likable about Brandon, especially by season 8. He was awful. He was terrible. He kind of and by being in a relationship with him, Kelly started to both behave and dress like an old spinster woman, like an old woman. The amnesia really got to her or something, or Brandon really fucking domesticated her entirely. Yeah, for someone who's so progressive like Brandon, every fucking girl he dates is constantly walking on eggshells around him because they don't want to irritate like Mr. Macho Man. Like, who the fuck is he kidding? I'm sorry, I'm getting carried away. I don't like Brandon, though, and it's fine that he's gone. Steve, what's less than one dimensional? He's nothing. He is the comic relief, but he's never funny. The cringiest part of the entire show so far is where he tried to be a comedian. It was torture. It was absolute torture. What's Hilary Swank doing on this show? I didn't know she was on Beverly Hills 90210. Why is she with the worst character and the worst actor on the whole show? Why is she with like the least complicated fucking person ever? Even there, like you're like maybe we can make Steve complicated or at least seem more mature and more adult by being a sort of father figure to this kid. But they didn't really let that blossom enough. They fired Hillary pretty quickly. So we didn't really get to see that blossom. And then Steve just continued down the path of being a non issue, a non entity, just a fucking punchline. Honestly, that's what Steve Sanders has become, a punchline. He and his assistant. I don't I don't care. It's not that I don't like them, it's that I don't care. Because I'd never been asked to by the show. He had a lot of promise in the first 4 seasons, but when Darren Star left, he took a lot of the integrity with it. Jessica Alba, baby Jessica Alba, as a homophobic teen mom was not on my 90210 bingo card. Also, if you have a diner in a teen drama, then you best believe that Sherry Appleby will be working there. It was fucking Liz Parker. I swear to God, that was just Liz Parker. Then she moved to New Mexico. I swear it. I guess she played Noah's sister. I don't think that will ever be followed up on, but it was thrilling seeing Sherry here. She's fucking amazing looking and awesome. She's cool. Love seeing her. That's the future teen drama royalty. Literally being a waitress in a diner. Crash Down, anybody? Like, come on. Oh God. I love that. Big storyline near the end of season 9 is about Kelly being raped. And it's a vicious rape and it's extremely traumatic. The season finale's cliffhanger was Kelly coming face to face with her rapist at Donna's department store and filling him with bullets, just pop, 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 and then click, click, click because she emptied the chamber. I always thought Kelly was really interesting when it came to the concept that she is an ideal. Like she is definitive of Californian beauty, of blonde beauty standards, of the beauty standards of the 90s. And just like how I went over a couple different situations where the show capitalized on its own past or was remembering itself in a different light, her assault reminded me of that Halloween episode from the high school years where she was almost raped when she was dressed as like that sexy witch. And I believe like Dylan and Steve saved her from that. And as an adult, she didn't have anyone to save her and she fell victim to sexual assault, to being raped. And it's like those beauty standards, those those blonde dream girls. That's the ideal, but what's beneath the ideal is the way that the men around her who are outsiders, who aren't in the know, in the group, in the ensemble, how they change around her and become vicious, how they become like demonic, how they become awful people, awful creatures. Beneath the blonde ideal is blonde abuse. And that's really powerful. And it's interesting seeing how she deals with the trauma. It's also interesting seeing how Dylan tries to comfort her, how she goes to Dylan. And I mean, and how Dylan like tries to reach out to her because he's about to do heroin again. You know, like they are each other's lifelines. They are soulmates. They're lifelines. They're twin flames. They're incredible. That's something that's beautiful about when Dylan returns is the immediate and undeniable chemistry between Dylan and Kelly. They elevate the show in ways that are nearly impossible to calculate or quantify. I love romance, and when I'm around Kelly and Dylan, it's nothing but romance. I feel so much passion between these two characters, and thank God. Thank God for that because the show desperately needed it. Kelly has a new main love interest as well named Matt, who I don't care for. I don't hate him. He's just kind of there, though. I don't have any strong feelings about him whatsoever. The best new addition is Gina. Without a doubt, she's awesome. I can't wait to spend some more time with her because we're doing some really cool things with her. She's vicious and she's super hot and I think I think she beautifully fits into this to this teen show, to this teen drama, to this soap opera style show. I think she perfectly fits into it. I love her, really. She's great. She's a saving grace of these last few seasons of the show. Season 8 was really tough. It was really hard to get through. Everyone was acting like a complete fool or completely different to how they would normally act. Or they were acting within the worst ways of their character. Like they were the worst. No one got through that well. And like the less said about it, the better. I'm here to analyze. There's nothing to truly analyze about season 8 apart from David's storyline, which I thought was very good. Donna Martin can do no wrong. She is my cult wife. She's my all. I love her, but Noah Hunter was basically draining all of the life and spunk and originality and cuteness from her in season 8. In season 9, when she starts to reject Noah in a lot of like fundamentally important ways, she becomes more interesting. She becomes a stronger character. David and Donna are the best characters. They really are, but David has consistently been the most interesting one through all the years. So, yeah, good for you, David. Hell yeah. So I would cautiously say that I liked season 9. I have a lot of reservations about it, but I liked it. I did not like season 8. Season 8, I don't know. Season 7 or season 8, 6, 7, and 8 weren't very good. 9 is the best season since season 5, for sure. For sure. And what does it have that those other seasons don't have? A lot of Dylan McKay. Go figure. He was he was like integral to the entire show working. I'm thrilled to have him back. Beverly Hills 90210 is a really entertaining show, and I really like it. And now we're getting more modern. We're getting into the era of modern television, and this is the show that truly brought the coming of age and teen genre into modernity, into like what we would recognize as the modern television show. And it did that by revolutionizing the entire medium of television through soap opera style storytelling mechanics. This show guided us. This show guided television and all of these archetypes of the teen genre, like out of the dark ages, right? And into the postmodern age. And from here, you can absolutely see where Dawson's Creek and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the OC and Gossip Girl and One Tree Hill and Gilmore Girls, you see how they would get their start. But they take their cues, their stage direction from Beverly Hills 90210. Ugh. I will be back with my final Beverly Hills 90210 video. Gonna analyze season 10, the final season. I'm excited. I hope to see you there.